Hello. Wow, this is awesome. Awesome. I actually don't have a speech written down. Let me check, see my zippers up. I'm good. My name is Michelle Martinez. It's awesome to be here tonight and actually just listening to what is going on in our community. So I'm going to try not to tear up as much as I usually do. But when you're passionate about something, you just can't help yourselves. Looking at some of these slides of people that are here tonight have actually helped me in the past. And just goes to show that the people that are part of this program don't just help in this program. They're also helping outside the community, which is amazing. We're going to start December 2011. My wife and I, Ashley, we're expecting our first child, Lena. Yes, awesome. At 16 weeks, they told us that Lena was going to have some complications. And they said, don't worry. Like, if there's any complications you want of a child, any defects or anything, this is the one you want. Because all what's going to happen is you're going to have a surgery. She'll be home within a couple weeks. We'll move on. Live your lives. So that's what we planned. But that wasn't the case. Lena had gastroschisis, which is when the intestines are outside the abdominal wall. So they said the worst case scenario was our child was going to have a belly button. Well, nowadays you can put a belly button, I'm sure. I mean, what aren't they doing? So we ended up just hoping for the best. And story short, 6 major surgeries in the hospital, 4 months and 4 days. I don't like to think that it was the worst thing that's ever happened to me, because in reality, looking back now, it's probably the best thing that's ever happened to us. It's made my relationship with my wife stronger. It's made me open my eyes to a whole new world that I hope that just somehow you guys find your path in humanity. I mean, really, it's, if we take politics out of the way, you take religion out of the way, you take racism out of the way, we just have people. People helping people. So Lena being in the hospital 4 months and 4 days, we were excited. We were ready to go home, take our daughter, and just live our lives. And be parents, be first-time parents. And at our 6-month checkup, we went down to the doctor's office. They did all these exams, and doctor pulls us into his office and says, did you know that your daughter had a stroke during one of those 6 surgeries? Like, no, we didn't. He says, well, it damaged her brain. It affected her motor skills. And all this, he's just going off and off and on. And I'm just like, I have no idea what you're saying to me. Like, give it to me in layman terms. He said, basically, your daughter would never walk, your daughter would never talk, and your daughter would never see. So, as a new father that I am, and the husband that I was, I'm not going to let my wife down. I'm not going to let my kid down. I said, all right, what's the next option? Like, what do we do? Where do we go from here? Because I'm not going to accept that. And the next thing he said to me was something I honestly probably could have punched him through the wall. He said, have another child. It's like, what? We just went through hell and back. You want me to have another kid? He said, think about this. And he said, monkey see, monkey do. I don't know when you guys have siblings here. I've got 3 other brothers and sisters, and I tell everybody if there's 4 chairs in one room, we will all sit in one chair. That's how close we are. So it kind of made sense. Just like, well, but my daughter doesn't walk, talk, or see, is what you're telling me. So how's this going to affect her? There's a feeling. There's always a bond between those siblings. I was like, okay, makes sense. So Ashley and I went home, we talked about it, and just trying to figure out what the next step is. And so we were blessed. We got really lucky. Ashley got pregnant another child. And at that moment, we started going to the doctors. They were doing routine checkups on her, making sure that this baby was going to be healthy. And the doctors came up to me like, hey, you know what? Your baby is healthy. So, yeah, we're excited. And now they're just like, have you guys thought about saving the umbilical cord blood for stem cells? I'm like, stem cells? Do you mean like cloning? It's like, yo, we're beyond that. Like, there's so much, there's a whole nother world of stem cells nowadays. It's the future. It's the medicine. That's what's gonna change all of this one day. I was like, okay, like, sure. Like, so what do I do? They're like, well, it costs about $3,000 to save this umbilical cord blood and store it. And like, you may use it 10 years, 20 years, 2 years. We don't know. But if you don't have it, you won't know. So it's like, okay, that's great. My wife, Ashley, at the time had to quit her job because we have a child who can't walk, talk, or see. So I had to pick up a second job. So I went down to the nearest Home Depot, figured they could work out with my hours, and got a job there. And a lot of you guys probably know that Spanish Springs Home Depot, which is the one on Pyramid Highway, they gave me a job. So I was working there and trying to figure out, okay, honey, how are we going to work this out? How are we going to get $3,000, et cetera, put it in our budget. I was raised not to ask, not to borrow. I was raised, you have to earn it. You figure it out. My father came into this country with $5 in his pocket. He has put his kids through college. He owns his own house. If he can do it, I can do it. So I'm at Home Depot. All right, I'm working. I walked into the manager's office, knocked on his door, and said, hey, boss, can I talk to you for a second? He's like, yeah. I'm like, just wondering if I can get some extra hours. He's like, why? Don't you have a good job? I said, yeah, I just got some bills, I just want to make a little few extra bucks if that's all right with you. And looked at me and he's like, I don't believe you. I'm like, no, really, I got some bills. And he says, what's going on? Tell me, what's going on? So I explained to him about my daughter's situation. I explained to him what was going on. We needed $3,000 to save this umbilical cord blood. All I needed were some extra hours because I earn it. I don't ask. I figure it out. And next thing came out of his mouth was, absolutely not. I was like, what? I was like, why not? He said, let us help you. I was like, oh, you will? Let me just get some few hours here and there and we'll be good. He said, no, let us help you. So I said, well, let me talk to my wife about it. I went home and we talked about it. And being not only a Hispanic, but also being a male, we're raised that we're the alphas. We fix things, we make things right. But the hardest thing for me that I've ever had to do was suck up my pride. It's not about me anymore, it's about my wife. It's about my daughter. We're here to make things work and happen. So I sucked up my pride and I asked for help. So I went back to Home Depot and I said, okay, what do you guys want me to do? Like, we're in, just tell me. He said, I want you to do two things. He said, I want you to show up to work on time like you've been, work really hard, and on your days off, spend it with your family. Your daughter needs you right now, and so does your wife. Let us take care of the rest. I said, okay. So they planned together a little potluck. You guys have been to Home Depot. These people make minimum wage. There's probably 80 people in a store. And they did the one-day event potluck. And story short, they raised $600. I was like, wow, that's awesome. Yeah. I was so excited. And when they told me this, and the manager pulled me in, he says, well, we know it's not what you need. So we wrote a letter to corporate. I said, oh, okay. He said, they cut you a check for $3,000. I was on my knees, guy who sucked up his pride, on my knees crying. And I said, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to call the media? Get the newspaper? Tell me what you want me to do. I'll do anything right now. He said, get up, shake my hand, and do nothing. That's just what we do for family. It's what you guys are doing today. You guys are my family because it's impacting so much of this community, born and raised in Reno. Now I have $3,000 to save this umbilical cord blood. Just like, awesome. What are we going to do with it? Go home, Ashley and I start doing research day in and day out. Like, what do we go from here? How do we get these funds? And all right, so what's our next step? So I started doing research and realized it was a lot harder to find somebody to figure out how we could do stem cells into our daughters. So doctors were right. There's 5, 10, 15, 20 years before we even do a stem cell treatment. And to find out whether it works or doesn't. We're not sure. So I wasn't going to accept that. We started doing some research, and I ran into a YouTube video. And it was a TED Talk. I don't know if you guys have heard TED Talks, but usually it's speeches. Yes, great TED Talks. It was a mother talking about how she used her daughter's umbilical cord blood and injected it into sister stem cells and etc. I'm like, this is what we want to do. Like, this is our path. Like, gotta contact these people. Like, I saw this little girl walking out onto the stage, greeting everybody at the end of that TED Talk. I was like, I gotta meet them. Like, we want to do the exact same thing they're doing. So I sent her an email. I just sent a random email. Within 48 hours, I got a phone call. I said, hi, my name is Michelle Martinez. I heard your TED Talk. I've got my daughter, and I've got 2 daughters. We've got the stem cells saved, and we want to know what you guys did because we're interested. We just want to know what you guys did. And I said, we live in Reno, Nevada. I'll drive anywhere. And the number I looked said California. I was like, sweet. Like, I don't have to travel too far, not all the way to the East Coast. So she says, oh, you live in Reno? You guys want to come over for brunch tomorrow? It's like, what? It's like, yeah, we live in Verdi. The odds, you guys, of this. I mean, it was meant to be. So we met the Barbers, and the best thing about them is that we're best friends. But we went to their house, and they gave us 5 years of research in 5 minutes. They never once said, here's what you have to do. They said, here is what we did. Say, wow, thank you guys so much. Just talking to them, they were so positive, energetic, kind of how we were trying to be. And we started doing research, and we're calling these doctors on everything. Like, they gave us, almost a whole room full of paperwork. And I wasn't just going to do what they did. I'm going to do my research as well. But they already gave me all this paperwork, so I'm just calling doctors left and right. And we got a hold of some doctors, and they said, we can definitely do this experimental procedure. The problem is we don't know what can happen. Like, we don't know if it's going to increase. We don't know. We just don't know because it's still new. I said, well, answer me this. I said, what's the worst thing that can happen? Because she can't walk, she can't talk, and she can't see. There's only one more option, and I'm not going to let that happen. Doctor said, you'll be down some money. I can live with that. I mean, we're all going to make money, we're all going to lose money, and we're going to give money. So we said, okay, how much? He said, $21,000. Oh, well, let me get back to you. So I went home, and Nancy and I were talking about what are we going to do, how are we going to do this. I'm like, well, I don't want to go back to Home Depot and ask for help. It'd be tough. So one home, I came home from Home Depot late, working 2 jobs. So I would go from one job to the other, and then Ashley had a notepad on the dinner table, and you could see the notes that she had been working on. And I just grabbed that paper and pen. I just started writing. And to this day, it is the hardest thing I've had to do. I wrote a letter in my daughter's perspectives. And as a father, to admit that your daughter has a disability, super hard. So we wrote this letter and just explained, I can't walk, I can't talk, can't see, but I love life. If you guys were to see her, she smiles all the time, which has probably made our lives so much easier because she's just a smiling kid. And like, what do we do with it? We have this letter. So we decided to put it back then in an account or in a website called GoFundMe. I'm sure you guys are familiar with it. We just put it up there. In 4 months, we raised $21,000. Not just from the community in Reno. It started in Reno. We had people from friends telling friends like what we're doing here tonight. It ended up going worldwide. There's a shirt that we made that says LenaLovesLife.com, and on the back of the shirt it just says thank you. And there's people's names. Most of them are anonymous. These people wanted to be anonymous because they just truly wanted to help. People helping people. People are helping somebody across the world, helping a little girl here in Reno, Nevada that they've never met or probably will never meet. When I wear that shirt, people are always looking, and they look at it and they're like, oh, what's this one? Who's the Essex Police Department? I'm like, oh, I said, that's great. I'm glad you saw that one. That's my favorite one too. And they're all my favorite. When they point one out, I say, oh, that's my favorite. This thing went so far all over the world. It wasn't just Reno community. It was every community from every country, from every part of the world. The Essex Police Department is a police department in London. They sent us a check in pounds. I mean, it was awesome. So you guys, I mean, $21,000. How do you do that? You do it because it's the right thing to do. You're setting everything aside. Humans helping humans. That's how we raise those $21,000. It's because people have hearts. We all have a heart. People were helping a husband, a father, trying to better his child. That's all I was trying to do. Now we have all this money. We gave it to the doctor. And it's just like, all right, let's do it. Like, we're ready. We're ready to go. Let's just do what you got to do, doc. It was a journey. Lena's, the stem cells were injected into Lena, my oldest. The stem cells were injected into Lena. And before we went to have those stem cells injected, I only had 2 goals. One was for my child to see her mother. Because everybody should ever see their loved one, their caregiver. I love my wife so much that as a husband, I didn't want to disappoint her. I want my child to see her pretty face, her eyes, her smile. Then for me, if there was anything for me, I mean, at that point was, if she can just see the sunsets. If you guys look up and see the sunsets in Reno, you won't see them like this anywhere else in the world. They're the most amazing sunsets. That's all I asked. We went down, we injected these stem cells, and I can tell you now that her eyesight is back. Not only her eyesight, but she now has 3 forward sentences. And there's so much of this. I just don't want to be here all night. But things we take for granted. I mean, I always tell people, and I've lived this every day of my 39 years thus far. Your worst day is somebody else's best. I lived that. I mean, it's in here. The only time it's ever been tested was on day 100 of Lena in the hospital. The doctor said, you guys are going to go crazy. You guys have to take a break. We were going to the hospital every day and just staying there. I mean, we wouldn't leave her sight. And we decided to go to a comedy show, kind of get away. And Ashley just said, 5 minutes, that's all. I just want to read the doctor's notes. Let's just go 5 minutes. And we went for 5 minutes. Ashley was talking to the doctor. I was there looking at my daughter, and I couldn't touch her. Couldn't read to her. Couldn't do anything. I wasn't a father. Just a guy standing here over her crib. And I said, it doesn't get any worse than this. This is the worst of the worst. And when I said that, our walls were divided by curtains from the next baby over. And the gentleman, the couple next to us, said in Spanish to the nurse, who calls the funeral parlor? You or I? Like, oh, that is the worst of the worst. I've never looked back. We've had people help us from all over the world. We feel like we have to pay it forward. So we now do a dodgeball tournament every year. And some of these people that I saw, a few of you tonight have actually been to the tournament. We have raised, every year we raise a little bit more, and we're helping kids who need help. I mean, you guys are helping these nonprofits, and we're receiving. You guys are seeing, you guys are changing lives, literally. Our motto at home is a better quality life, and everything's always yet. Lena can talk, Lena can see, but she can't walk yet. She will. But again, none of this would be possible if it wasn't for people helping people. Pennies, absolutely right. They're just pennies to you guys, but to us, it's a life changer. I mean, my daughter's in kindergarten right now with her sister. Public school. Would have never dreamed of it. But I don't expect anything less. She thrives. I DJ. I've DJed for 25 years. And every time I DJ, I do a wedding and I look at the father-daughter dance. I tear up every time because that's what I want. I want to be able to hand off my daughter, walk her down that aisle, and have that one special dance with her. And I've realized now, in front of you guys, I don't think I've ever said it out loud, but I'm going to dance with her either way. Whether she's sitting, carrying her in her wheelchair, or walking. Guys, keep doing what you're doing. I mean, if my daughter was here, I would have her thank each and every one of you. Her very first word was a word that we take for granted all the time. And it's just a simple hi. That was her first word. Hi. When's the last time you guys said hi to a stranger or even a homeless man who's walking by? Like, just hi. Lena, you see her down anywhere. That's the first thing she'll say, hi, 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 hi. I'm learning from her. I'm learning to appreciate life, appreciate the things that we take for granted. Oh, just remember, your worst day is somebody else's best. And people helping people. They just help each other. Share what you guys are doing now. Just share. I mean, you're helping people right now. You're helping me. This is my therapy. This is my therapy. Thank you, guys.